Both the Bengals and Panthers are coming off shocking Week 3 results, and none of us were expecting the loss by the Bengals or the win by the Panthers, especially too with the QB change going to the veteran Andy Dalton. But it paid off. They looked phenomenal in their win over the Las Vegas Raiders. While the Bengals, I will say, offensively looked really good against the Commanders, but defensively just fell apart. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what adjustments they make. And if the Carolina Panthers can keep playing at this level with Andy Dalton as their QB, it's going to be a much more interesting Week 4 matchup than I think we all initially had expected. But Ryan and I, we're going to break down the game, the matchups to watch within the game, and at the very end of the video, provide our prediction for who we think is going to win this game. But before we get into that, trying to get to 100 new subscribers just through this Week 4 prediction video series. So any help is greatly appreciated. So while we're at it, go ahead and leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the Tracy Take as well to help us reach our goal. Ryan, we're recording this right after the Monday night game, and let's talk about the positives with the Bengals. I know this Commanders defense is probably still one of the worst defenses in the league, but I was still impressed with what I saw from the Joe Burrow Cincinnati Bengals offense. That's the type of performance that the Bengals need if they want to make a deep run, especially now too after going 0-3. They're definitely going to need much more consistent offensive performances like that. I think having T. Higgins back in the offense definitely just kind of opened things up. The rise of Andre Yoshua as well has also provided another good third option as well. And they're running the ball pretty decent also. On the flip side, though, now getting to the negatives, defense looked absolutely atrocious. Especially too, I'm in 2 pick'em leagues, and I don't think anybody picked the Commanders to win that game for obvious reasons. Like the Bengals should have won this game, but Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders had a perfect offensive game. I think a lot of that was due to not a lot of it was due to them. Full credit to them, but the Bengals didn't really seem like they put up much of any fight at all defensively, and that's just going to be the big thing to monitor kind of going into this game, especially too against a Panthers team who really had nothing to lose in Week 3. Absolutely came out and dominated a good Raiders defense, especially too led by Max Crosby and the pressure out there, but just dominated, put on a great performance as well. Andy Dalton looked like the Andy Dalton from was it 10 years ago now? I think when he was with the Bengals. And so can they keep that level of performance? What are your thoughts on both of these two teams heading into this Week 4 matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the Cincinnati Bengals. Just not the start that you want to a season, and that is very obvious. But the reason I say that is Zach Taylor has notoriously started so slow in September that it's a very concerning trend. I'm curious to see Bengals fans' thoughts on this, but I think he is a sneaky coach on the hot seat. They did make the playoffs last year. He's had a lot of issues kind of getting started in the past. He's really only had – I guess they went to the AFC Championship game 2 seasons ago, but then 3 years ago is when they went to the Super Bowl. And like they've had a lot of – I don't know, felt like a lot of problems, and they haven't lived up to their talent that they have on the roster.
The slow starts definitely don't help. And so that's why that being said, though, I can maybe kind of see your point, but at the same time, though, he still has led them to the Super Bowl. Next year went to the AFC Championship game as well. Last year, Joe Burrow got hurt halfway through the season, and that's your star quarterback. And then actually, too, if we're being honest, they looked
really bad at the beginning of last year, though, also.
Yeah, but and also too in 2022 when they made the AFC Championship game, and frankly how they made it to the Super Bowl in 2021 with that offensive line was still shocking as well. So I see your point though. Definitely some questions, some head scratchers, like why do you guys consistently keep starting off so slow? Yeah. But at the same time though, I'm not as concerned about Zach Taylor's job, for example. I will say compared to somebody like Mike McDaniel. Miami.
Well, that's why he's a sneaky guy that I think could be on the hot seat. I think everybody's talking about how Mike McDaniel could be on the hot seat. There's some concerns with this Cincinnati team. Specifically, I think this offense will get its act together. This defense is not good. And you touched on that a little bit, I think, when you were talking about the Commanders game, but they have a good pass rush with Trey Hendrickson. And is it Sam Hubbard, I think, is the other guy on the other side. And other than that, they have not been a good team against the run. They've really struggled covering guys down the field. They let Terry McLaurin, and granted, Terry McLaurin is a very good receiver, but they let Terry McLaurin get 2 big plays in the second half on them. And maybe I'm just mad because those plays beat me in fantasy this week. But all in all, like I just think this defensive performance needs to be much better. They also cost them the game in Cincinnati with the last-second pass interference call. So, like, there's just continually harming themselves week in and week out.
Wait, sorry, the last game in Cincinnati? Do you mean?
Or in Kansas City, sorry.
Oh, okay.
In Kansas City with the pass interference call late. And for me, like, that's just unacceptable, especially for a team that has started so slow and can't afford to make those errors. And then you have the Carolina Panthers benching Bryce Young. Andy Dalton came in and gave them some quality snaps last week. They were able to get a win against the Raiders, which is kind of crazy. I'm curious. I need to go back and watch the game and see, like, I'm very curious how big of a difference did the switch make in terms of mentality, or how much did Andy Dalton just know football? Like, how much better is Andy Dalton at football than Bryce Young? And I'm curious to hear Panthers fans' opinion on that, because there were a lot of rumors about Bryce Young, like the teams reaching out to potentially trade for Bryce Young. But all in all, Panthers talent-wise are just still a little lackluster. They're still rebuilding. This is Dave Canales' first year as the head coach, so not a whole lot of expectations for the Panthers this year.
Yeah. No, it's kind of moving to this game here and kind of looking at the odds of who the favorite's going to be. It's going to be interesting, and kind of with that as well, if you want to put a couple bucks down on the game, check the link down below in the description box. BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players. And so you can take a look at this game and the odds, and then also to all the other NFL Week 4 games as well. And when it comes to this game, I'm very curious on who the favorite is going to be. I think on paper, we all agree Cincinnati's just going to be the better team, but that just hasn't resulted to wins on the field. While the Panthers, they did get a win last week. And I think kind of addressing your point that you kind of left off with is I think it's more the latter, even from what I saw. Just even being a quarterback, not me being a quarterback, just a quarterback with knowledge of knowing blocking assignments, knowing like how to read defense and where the rush is coming in. I think that just helps out with the protection, and then also knowing where the receivers need to be or are going to be compared to what type of defense that you're reading. That type of knowledge right there is already infinitely better. Is going to provide an infinite better performance overall compared to somebody who is struggling with that. Case in point, as you can tell, I'm a Falcons fan. The night and day difference from Kirk Cousins versus Desmond Ridder running the offense. Desmond Ridder, I think, really struggled with reading defenses, putting out blocking assignments. That's why we traded him, and then the Cardinals cut him. He's not even on the team anymore. So I think just that transition and understanding the defenses, knowing what's going to happen on the play before the play even starts.
The big difference in that scenario, though, is Desmond Ridder was not a first overall pick last year.
No, what I'm talking about, though, but it's still just a veteran QB, just the overall mental side of just being able to put yourself, one, in the safest position, but also the best position to move the ball forward down the field. And that's what's kind of shocking when it comes to Bryce Young, is because one of the things that everybody talked about with him was how smart he was, especially even at Alabama and reading defenses and coming up with game plans with the coaches. So it's still a learning curve. He's still very young, and he's going to get another opportunity either here within Carolina or even with another team, as I've heard some teams have been already reaching out for trade requests because, frankly, maybe he's just a guy that needs a little bit more time to develop. But it's also just tough being the number 1 overall pick, and still, to be fair to Bryce Young, has come into a horrible situation. Being drafted by Frank Reich and then him being fired 11 or 12 games into the season. So I think, to me, when it comes to this game, when it comes to the Bengals versus the Panthers, to me, to be completely honest, it's going to be, can the Panthers defense put up another good performance against this Raiders team? They really kind of stymied the Raiders here. Raiders can't run the ball to save their lives, so it's going to be. It was easier, I think, to overall defend. While the Bengals, offensively, they've done a pretty good job being a little bit more balanced. And I say statistically, I mean, they're 28th overall in rushing yards offensively. But tonight, though, they did do a little bit better going up against the Commanders, who, as I said, admittedly have one of the worst defenses in the league, so maybe take that with a grain of salt. But even if they are able to stop the run, how are they going to stop Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Andre Yoshibas now, Joe Burrow seems to be clicking a little bit more. Zach Moss and Trace Brown are both great backs catching out of the backfield. I'm pretty sure Zach Moss is. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. No, yeah, he had 5 catches for 39 yards. I was right about that.
Yeah.
Stop typing. So how are they just going to be able to stop all that? Can they have a similar performance to what they had last week? And to be fair to the Panthers, they did go up against Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. Now, Gardner Minshew is totally different than Joe Burrow, obviously. But I still some things, to kind of like take some positives going into this game here. And like, hey, once again, too, Panthers on paper, you guys suck. So you guys have nothing really to lose, and just keep having fun, keep playing keep playing like how you did last week for the free flowing. And Andy Dalton, enjoy this while you can, because maybe if you keep playing like this, maybe it'll be like a Joe Flacco 2.0, a ginger version of Joe Flacco. And so, but sorry, I had to throw that in there. But I think when it kind of comes to this game, Ryan, what are some other key factors that you think the Panthers need or the Bengals need to execute on to come out victorious?
I probably think that the Panthers need to push the ball down the field a little bit. I think this Bengals secondary showed that they are they'll easily give that up if tested. And so if Andy Dalton can push the ball down the field, I think that'll really open things up. But if I'm the Bengals, I'm coming in, I'm putting 8 in the box, and I'm blitzing a lot, putting the pressure on Andy Dalton to make the correct read in 2.5 seconds. And hopefully I can get a few turnovers out of that and then really put them in a bad spot. But other than that, I mean, I think the Bengals just need to come in and play good football. Like, don't beat yourself, because this is a Carolina Panthers team that is going to rely on mistakes that you make to beat you. And so if the Bengals can come in and not beat themselves, I think that is going to be a hard win for the Panthers to overcome. So with that being said, let's get into predictions. I'm going to start this off. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals for their first win of 2024. I think they're just a better team. They're much more talented. I think one thing, too, that you see a lot, like with shifts either at quarterback or at, like, the head coach per se, I think it's a morale boost for, like, a week. People play harder. People come in, and there's a new aura, I guess, about teams. And after that first week, that new shine kind of wears off. Everybody comes back to reality, and I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for the Panthers to come out and put up the same performance that they were able to do it in week 3 here in week 4. And I also think this Bengals defense, they've tried out a few things and nothing has really worked. I think this is a good time for them to put more guys in the box and allow these guys to be one-on-one more outside, because I think Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson are good receivers, but I think those are matchups that the Cincinnati Bengals will take.
Yeah. So I'm also going to go with Cincinnati. I was sitting here thinking, I don't want to be too overreactionary, but Bengals in general, I played a decent football game. I mean, they put up 33 points and still couldn't win the game. I was looking at the team stats now. They got the Bengals into 9 third-down situations, 3 fourth-down situations, and Commanders capitalized on all of them except for one, which led to a field goal. And it was a perfect game by the Commanders team, and maybe this offense is a lot more explosive than we initially expected. This Panthers offense, though, still just isn't going to be as explosive as what the Commanders could be. And I think the Panthers, I think everything went right for them going into that game. I think they're going to regress a little bit, at least. I think the Bengals didn't have the most perfect offensive game, but they played really well offensively, and I think they're going to be able to more consistently repeat their performance in week 3 than what the Panthers did. So that's why I think it's going to be their first win. And also, too, I don't know why I really like it when after the game the records match for some reason. In this instance, if this happens, both teams would be 1-3. So I don't know why I've always found that like cool. I don't know, but I'm gonna go with the Bengals here. Just on paper, they're just a better team. they're going to bounce back. That being said, though, we've always talked about how they've struggled in September. This is going to be the last game in September, so maybe we should pick the Panthers. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Usually they win one game in September.
Usually
so
they're good for one. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's go ahead. We'll wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Cincinnati Bengals? Will it be the Carolina Panthers? And that we will see you guys next time.